What's going on, guys? So a few days ago, the Last Epoch devs posted a dev update talking about everything coming in 1.0, sort of what's going to happen between now and February 21st when the game comes out, what we can expect to see post-wise between now and then. So I read through the update, and I sort of picked out all of the big nuggets for you guys, and I'm going to recap those in this video. So, okay, starting off, one, there's going to be more updates and insight into the game ahead of the February 21st launch. The roadmap that they provided just shows the milestone dates for the big reveals. So this is not going to be everything that we're going to get in terms of dev blogs, posts, things like that, but instead they're just showcasing the big ones. So let's go through these really quick and let's talk about them. So on January 11th, 11th Hour Games will be releasing some big news on the Merchants Guild, the Bazaar, the Circle of Fortune, and Prophecies. So just to recap on what we know so far about these topics, this is everything that was posted in a blog post a long time ago, but they haven't made any updates, so we're just going to have to assume that it's somewhat still intact today. So the Circle of Fortune faction will provide players with increased drop chances at runes, exalted affixes are more likely, and uniques are twice as likely to have legendary potential, but you are essentially solo self-found if you decide to go with this faction. So these items are yours and yours alone. Now you have the Merchants Guild, which gives you access to the Bazaar, which is a place where you can buy items and sell items. Here, you're able to trade any item after reaching specific ranks. This allows you to transact with other players and hopefully find the item you're looking for. This is a very different approach to solo self-found or a trade league, so this is pretty cool. I like the way they're approaching this, but again, this is an older thing, so we'll have to see what we actually get our hands on when 1.0 drops next year. So January 25th, this is the next one. We're going to have the first new mastery reveal, and this is going to be done by Aaron Action RPG, longtime friend of mine, and he's been a longtime Last Epoch community member, and he's actually over at Icy Veins these days. Now, this mastery has been one of the most anticipated ones for all of the Acolyte fans out there. Everybody's been clamoring for the Warlock. Now, we don't know much about this one, but we can definitely expect to learn a lot more very soon. And now, similar to the Warlock reveal, we'll also get our first look at the Falconer on February 8th over on maxroll.gg. Now, this class is the final mastery for the Rogue, and one that I think a lot of pet players will enjoy. So right now, we know that we will have a Falcon as a pet, but it's going to be very interesting to see what all this class brings to the table and how involved the Falcon is throughout all of the different skills that the Rogue will have. Now that all brings us to launch day on February 21st. Everything will be added to the game, and after a very long time, Last Epoch will be feature complete. Now 11th Hour Games has quite the slate of post-launch plans for the game, including seasonal content, something called cycles, which these are going to work similar to leagues from Path of Exile. So here we're going to see additions and refinements to the game. We're going to see new endgame content, skills, unique items, gameplay systems, quality of life features, etc. So we're looking at a steady stream of new stuff to do, which is great. In today's world, you have to have something like that. One and done action RPGs don't have the same staying power as they did a decade ago. So you have to have something that's going to constantly keep people coming back. For some games, that's extensive mod support. For other games, it needs to be a cyclical post-launch process, whether it's seasons, whether it's leagues, whether it's cycles. So I'm really glad that Last Epoch is taking this seriously, and they're not just saying, here's our thing, we'll talk to you guys later. Instead, they're saying, here's our thing, and here's what you can expect to see afterwards. But the big question, right, is that's not everything. They talked about it. So what else is coming to Last Epoch during 1.0? So one, they're overhauling and improving lighting and shadows to make visuals appear more crisp and provide more immersion for the game. Now their aim here is to improve performance, visual quality, and bring some more modern aspects to the game in terms of fidelity. Now to complement this, they're also introducing scene variants. So before, the devs would have to create a new set of textures, assets, and decals in order to alter a scene or create an effect they wanted. Now with new tools, they're able to use a standard template and apply different visuals and effects to help bring some variety to the game. And guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm honestly really looking forward to this, because as good as the game looks, once you've been through it 20 times, the lack of variety can be draining, and I'm really hoping that this helps out with that. You know, you go across the bridge, next time it's a snowy bridge, it's a rainy bridge, it's a corrupted bridge. You know, you're gonna have different kind of visuals to help keep you a little bit more engaged, instead of it always being the same sunny bridge that you cross at this point in the game. So it's the small things, but things that I pay attention to. Okay, so let's talk about the Shaman update. So as a fellow Primalist main, the Shaman mastery has been a letdown. It feels underpowered, it feels underwhelming compared to other masteries, it's just not fun to play compared to some other ones. And luckily, the devs do agree, and they're giving this mastery some much needed love ahead of launch. And I'm glad, because guys, I've been trying to go through, and I've been creating a bunch of starter builds. So I want to have a bunch of starter builds ready for you guys ahead of the 1.0 launch, and Shaman has been a tough one. It's really hard to create something that competes with other builds using this mastery. It's hard to find something that has great damage, great pacing, good feel. So hopefully we see something great come out of this extra effort, because right now it's pretty tough to sell this mastery or recommend this mastery to people. Now, they didn't give us much in terms of reveals or anything, but we did get a little bit of insight into one of the things they're changing. So Tempest Strike is moving from a spammable resource generator. Now, if you know Tempest Strike, it is a zero cost skill. As you use it, it does low amounts of damage, and then it'll have random procs. And these random procs are things like Earth Spike, you know, Electric, it'll send out Icicle Spikes. So all of these things, right? So this is going to move instead from a low damage spammable resource generator to a powerful high cost combo skill. So instead of it being low damage, the skill will now deal large amounts of damage, and instead of the procs being randomized, it's going to progress through those procs as you continue to use the skill. So the first strike is Earth, the second strike is Ice, the third strike is Lightning, the fourth strike is Fire, that type of thing. So as you continue to spam that skill, you're going to proc those things. Now, they did mention they're overhauling the skill tree as well, and this is going to allow you to specialize in one or more of those procs, and you can even remove some of those procs in exchange for other benefits. So right now, you can still do this with Tempest Strike. So instead of, you know, getting your Lightning, Ice, and Earth procs, you can take Earth completely out and instead focus all of your effort on Lightning and Ice. And then if you do that, then you get some additional damage, you get an additional chance to proc these particular elements. And when you do that, that's going to chain reaction onto something else. But the problem is it just doesn't deal a ton of damage. And with that, I'm glad they're actually taking a look at it. Now, they also tease that because Tempest Strike is moving from a low-cost generator to a high-cost ability, this is also leaving a vacancy for a new low-cost generator. They didn't tell us what it was. They said that's a story for another time. So hopefully we'll hear that story sooner than later, because I am very interested to see what they're going to put in there. So the last thing we'll talk about that they revealed, or I guess kind of teased a little bit, are the Endgame updates. So right now in Last Epoch, you have the monoliths. The monolith essentially is randomized maps. As you go through them, you can gain modifiers, and as you have those modifiers, you can do more maps, and it makes them more difficult, so on and so forth. It's a very streamlined, and frankly, it's a very good in-game system that I like. So monolith modifiers are getting a look. They're no longer going to last more than 3 echoes, which is 3 maps, to help avoid poor in-game experiences. Because they were looking at some of these and they were creating kind of unwinnable scenarios or unnecessary scaling. And because of that, it created a less than stellar experience for some players. So they're going to shorten those durations and hopefully give you a chance to have a little bit better time. Now, they're also going to look at some of the modifiers that were invisibly scaling enemies to superpowered levels. So it's another thing they're taking a look at. So if you've been going through and playing and you're like, oh my gosh, enemies enraging at half health is just nuts, you're correct. It's because it's not working as intended and it's scaling to wild levels. So next we have corruption. Okay, so corruption is getting buffed to scale enemy damage and health to higher levels, but okay, not everything is negative. They're also going to increase the average legendary potential and Weaver's Will values that'll drop from corrupted monoliths or corrupted echoes. Now, for those that missed it, if you've been out of the game for a little while, let me recap you on these two things. Legendary potential is a value found on unique items. This allows you to take your unique item and another item, combine them together to create a legendary. So it's a very cool system. We'll get into it a little bit later, but it essentially allows you to craft onto uniques. Weaver's Will are items that will reveal affixes and upgrade those affixes as you equip and then kill enemies with that item. So for instance, let's say you have a Weaver's Will ring that has the number 14 on it. So as you go through and you kill enemies and you're gaining experience, every now and then that item will upgrade to add an affix to the item. Now, whether you get an affix or an upgrade to an existing affix is completely random. So you could end up with a ring that has 4 affixes that have all been equally leveled up, or you can end up with a ring that has 2 affixes and then those 2 affixes are leveled up all the way to max. It's completely random, but the higher the value is the more updates that you'll get to that item as you level up. It's a cool system, one that takes a little bit to wrap your head around, but once you get one of those drops and you start using it, it's pretty easy to understand. So for me, guys, overall, I mean, this game is shaping up to make a huge splash when it finally launches. It shows that games can, in fact, survive long early access periods and do well if given the proper funding, the proper time to cook, a good decision-making team behind the actual product, and a strong community that sticks with it. Now, I know that's a lot of things, and that's sort of like a perfect scenario, but it is possible. As for this blog update, these changes sound positive. And while there will undoubtedly be launch issues when this thing actually drops, I'm still looking forward to finally seeing the 1.0 that devs have been working towards. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this dev post? Will you be tuning in to the roadmap reveals? And which mastery are you most looking forward to? For me, it's the Falconer. It's been the Falconer for a very, very long period of time, and I am really excited to see what they have in store for us. Leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, this has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.